Hello again, everybody. This is Craig Evans of Autism Hangout, and thank you for tuning into this Autism Hangout special report. You know, ignorance isn't always bliss. In fact, ignorance often gets in the way of understanding. For instance, it's sometimes heard that people with Asperger's or high-functioning autism can't express emotion, or even more foolish, people on the spectrum can't fall in love. Well, to both these statements, today's guest has written an ebook on two Aspies and their approach to love. Two-time Pulitzer Prize winner and New York Times reporter Amy Harmon writes this fly-on-the-wall look at Aspie Love. Autism Hangout, please welcome today's guest, Amy Harmon. Welcome, Amy. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here.
And this is such a hot topic. Aspies in love. How do they express emotion? How do Aspies and NTs get along? But in this case, it's Aspie loving Aspie. Now, what was the inspiration for you to write this book?
Well, I had been writing about autism off and on for several years, part of my job at the Times, and I felt like there was this pervasive myth about people on the autism spectrum that they don't have emotions and that they don't yearn for intimacy with other people. They're happy kind of in their own world and just emotionless. So I just felt that I wanted to try to get at that and to try to debunk that. And I hoped that this way of doing it, by not sort of explaining a lot about it or interviewing a lot of experts and quoting people, but by kind of just going in deep with one couple and really trying to show them and how their relationship unfolded. I spent several months with Jack and Kirsten, just kind of watching them, observing them, and sort of picking up on themes in their lives. And sort of their setbacks and their progress and their arguments and their happy moments. And so I hope that by doing it that way, it would kind of hook people into, get people themselves emotionally involved with the story enough to try to give some insight into what it really is like to be on the spectrum and be trying to have a close relationship with somebody.
Yeah, and your fly-on-the-wall approach worked very well. I felt like I was a part of the scene all the time, watching it unfold, and you also made it part of my responsibility to try to interpret what was actually going on. But
that was the idea.
Yeah, and in watching this, what do you think helped make their relationship work best?
Well, for Jack and Kirsten, I think very direct communication works. They devised several things along those lines. So one of the things that Kirsten wished for more in the relationship was for Jack to show affection. Mm-hmm. And Jack would say, that he feels affection. He just doesn't express it in the way maybe that she wanted or that, might come naturally to someone else. So they devised kind of a very direct, sort of symbolic. She would say, when I put my hand on your leg, you put your hand on my back. Mm-hmm. And I watched them do that, and that worked for them. What didn't work was not explaining everything. Mm-hmm. It was sort of having things be assumed, and then like if Jack said to Kirsten, you're cutting up the cauliflower too big. She couldn't understand. Like for him, that was a very basic.
Understanding,
fact.
Yeah.
For Kirsten, she took it personally, and for them, like little things like that could kind of spiral into big arguments and misunderstandings about sort of what was in the other person's mind. Mm-hmm. So I think the more they explained, and maybe it sometimes seemed like a laborious process or like a stilted process, like for them, it really worked. That worked well.
Mm-hmm. These two are highly intellectual. Lots of times people with Asperger's are highly intellectual, but the way they are articulated back and forth to find that level of understanding and then find that compromise, that was outstanding. Now,
it was kind of heartwarming to watch that happen.
One of the things I know you're going to get asked a lot as an author is, okay, you're looking at Aspie talking with Aspie. There's a lot of Aspies that are married to NTs, and the NT may have fallen in love with the Aspie for all the right reasons. Did you see parallels or universal understandings between Aspie-Aspie relationships as well as Aspie-NT relationships?
Right, that's a good question. I mean, I think there are lessons here for all forms of all types of relationships. So Aspie, NT, and NT. You don't have to be on the Asperger's on the autism spectrum to learn lessons from what Jack and Kirsten went through, because we are all in our relationships trying to understand each other, and to the process of forging intimacy, I think, is a daunting process for anyone. It's harder when you don't have that, you can't sort of intuit certain things in the way that someone on an NT might from, tone of voice or facial expressions. Mm-hmm. But we're all trying for that. So yeah, I definitely did see universal themes here. For my own relationships, but people have written to me to say, that they have no personal connection to autism, and yet they saw themselves, parts of themselves.
Any final thoughts? Any universal learnings that you took out of the book?
I guess I would just say, it's a struggle. It's to do this, to have a relationship, to be close to someone, to understand what is in the other person's mind. It's an incredibly rewarding thing when you do it, but it's a struggle to make it happen. And the thing that I was most impressed with about Jack and Kirsten was how committed they were to that struggle. They had bad days and bad moments and meltdowns, but they kind of came back at it. And I almost, it's hard to say, but I thought, well, maybe that's part of their autism. That they people talk about sort of the narrow interest, and for them, this was one of their interests, mm-hmm. and they're interested in making their relationship work, and it was kind of inspiring to see that.
All right, Jack in your story is actually who?
Jack is the son of John Elder Robison, who many people in the community will know is the author of the best-selling memoir, Look Me in the Eye. Yeah. So John was diagnosed with Asperger syndrome when he was in middle age and wrote that memoir. And he has a new memoir out about raising Jack, which kind of ends right before Jack meets Kirsten, the young woman in my book. I didn't know that. It was funny because John Elder Robison is so well known in the autism community, but when I knew Jack, I knew Jack as Jack for a long time in my reporting in the weeks that I was talking to them on the phone, and I knew John as Jack's dad.
Amy, your book is available in ebook form, and it's at Amazon.
It's at Amazon, it's at the Apple Store, it's at Barnes & Noble, so it's available on all platforms and for any e-reader.
Okay, and what is it selling for?
$2.99.
Oh, what a steal. It's a quick read. It's a lovely read. It's a wonderful read. Thank you so much for writing this book. Do you have other books in mind in the future?
I have some ideas. I am interested in the special interests of people on the spectrum. Mm-hmm. I'm sort of keeping a catalog of them, and so if anybody wants to email me with their special interest and any stories about how it's affected their lives, that's something that I'm gathering string on.
Let's give your email address for them then.
It's amy.harmon@gmail.com.
Very good. Okay. Well, you're probably going to get some really interesting stories from this. At least I certainly hope you do.
Thank you so much.
Amy, thank you for taking the time to put the book together and to help people's understanding. I hope we get a chance to talk again in the future. And if we don't, best wishes to you, and maybe I'll see you around the autism circuit.
Pleasure talking to you. Thanks.
Thank you. And thank you, Autism Hangout. I'll be back again soon with another special report.